John Jacob is a born-again Christian, husband, father, and grandfather. He is an abortion abolitionist, evangelist, and former government auditor, sworn officer of the court, auditing government. He audited, managed over $100 billion over 28 years. He is a 4-year small business owner. He is serving his first term as state representative for District 93 in Central Indiana. He is committed to protecting life at all stages, liberty, and our constitutional freedoms. He has been a major proponent in our medical freedom fight at the State House, trying to get legislation passed to prevent this exact issue from happening. John Jacob, everyone.
Thank you all so much for coming today. And I'm very thankful for Tracy and Caleb for allowing me to speak today. I'm a lifetime Southside Indy resident. And, you know, also as a government auditor, I always joke when I came in and I told the people that I audited, I said, I'm from the government. I'm here to help you. No, thank you. And I say that tongue in cheek. You know, those are the scariest words I think the government can say. I'm from the government, I'm here to help you. No, thank you. Stay out of my business. I'm a true liberty-minded representative. I worked very hard with Representative Kurt Nisley in this last legislative session to try to push forward legislation that protected life, liberty, and our freedoms. I want to talk about what tyranny, what's the definition of tyranny? The definition of tyranny is an oppressive, harsh, or unjust act. Forced vaccinations are oppressive, they're harsh, and they're unjust. As an auditor, I'm kind of a geek about definitions. Definition of liberty: the state of being free within society from oppressive restrictions imposed by authority on one's way of life, behavior, or political views. This is oppressive. It is a restriction. It is not just being imposed on us, it is being shoved down our throat. You don't have to be a government auditor for 30 years to figure out that this is about control. And people who don't say it's about control are either incredibly naive or they're just outright lying to you. And it's sickening. The definition of freedom: the absence of necessity, coercion, or constraint in choice or action. There is definitely an absence of freedom here because, again, this is being forced on us. When I use the term vaccine, please understand that I'm just using it very loosely. I'm not using in the term that because this is not a vaccine, because the vaccine protects you from getting the disease, or it prevents you from transmitting it. And what we don't know is if this will do either. Okay. You know, over and over, as an auditor, I push back. I'm a newly elected representative, but I'm no stranger to government. Over and over, I see government violating the very laws that are put into place by the legislative body. And it's sickening. It sickened me as an auditor over and over to see one law and then being expanded to a million other laws. I've had so many people reaching out and begging for help. because of forced vaccinations. It's not just IU Health. There are other employers that are doing the same thing. I just spoke down at IU Bloomington, with IU Bloomington trying to force vaccinations, and then they back off. And then they wanted to have a passport. We passed legislation to make sure that governments could not put a passport in place. So typical government pulls off of the passport, and what do they call it? They call it an attestation form. Oh, you know what? That's still a passport. Thank you. No, you're still violating. So we're out of session right now. Well, technically. Anyway, I reached out to a friend of mine who I've dealt with over the years with Liberty Counsel. Some of you may be familiar with Liberty Counsel. Counsel, he put together some information, and I want to give you a short synopsis of the information that he gave me. You'll be able to go out to my political page and you can find that information. I'll put it out there here, hopefully within the next couple days. We talk about liberty. In the Declaration of Independence, it says, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. In the preamble of the Constitution, it says, we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Now the last part here from the state constitution. All people shall be secured in the natural right to worship Almighty God according to the dictates of their own consciences. Ladies and gentlemen, without life, you can't have liberty. I don't think that was any mistake that they put life before everything else. As an outspoken representative for life and liberty and all life and freedoms, I want to talk about something just real short clip, and that is the life of the preborn in our nation. And some people may be wondering, what does this have to do with what we're talking about today? It has everything to do with what I'm talking about. And I will connect the dots here, but I won't talk long about it. We murder over 3,000 children a day in our nation by others. God sees every single one of those children. We want nothing for us. When things come up personally, we get very, very defensive. A lot of times, though, when it affects somebody else, a lot of times we sit back passively. God's not passive about this. He sees the children that are being murdered. He wants us to stand up for the preborn. And if we do not stand up for the preborn, let me back up a second. We've declined as a nation. We talk about Almighty God and our Creator in our Constitution, in the Declaration of Independence, but yet so many of us have forgotten Him. I'm not speaking for any necessarily an individual here, but we as a nation, I believe, have gone so far away from God, and I think that's why we've declined as a nation. So connecting this back to the issue of abortion, if we do not stand in the gap for the preborn and turn back from our evil ways, God is not concerned about our liberties. And don't hear from me that I'm not concerned about our liberties and freedoms, because I'm fighting for all of them, life, liberty, and freedom, and I will continue to fight for all of them. But we have to stand in the gap for the preborn. If we're concerned with preserving our liberties and our freedoms. I have a 4-page memo from my attorney. I'm not going to bore you to death with 4 pages of legalese, but I am going to highlight some things. Out of Richard's memo that I will put out on my social media page, my political social media page, not my personal one. And it has the links, it has a lot of the information in there. It deals with the issue of universities, and it also deals with the issue of employers. Liberty Counsel they recently just won a court case against Governor Newsom in California. They won no other cases as it relates to COVID. They're a solid organization. The existence of COVID-19 does not justify the numerous violations of fundamental individual, economic, and religious liberties. These include the rights of personal autonomy and bodily integrity, and the right to accept or reject the various COVID vaccines based on religious belief or other grounds. COVID vaccines cannot be mandatory under emergency use authorization. The COVID vaccines are in a special category and cannot be treated like FDA-licensed vaccines. None of the COVID vaccines are FDA licensed, nor have they received full approval. I agree, they will try to ramrod the approval. Rather, their approval is under the special provision noted above as EUA. This means that there is not enough data for the FDA to render a final approval. And more importantly, no one, including private employers, may coerce individuals by threatening their employment or otherwise to take an EUA vaccine. Federal law requires full and informed voluntary consent. If you want to take the vaccine, go for it. I would encourage it. All employees, whether employed by religious organizations or not, are protected against mandated COVID vaccines under 21 U.S.C. 360, which provides that EUA products require that people have the option to accept or refuse administration of the product. FDA has an obligation to ensure that recipients of the vaccine under an EUA are informed that they have the option to accept or refuse the vaccine. There is no exception in the statute for private employers. As opposed to government or for religious or non-religious employers. All EUA vaccines are optional. I want to interject something here in Richard's memo. Something that I've been just screaming about over and over and over and over. Show me the data. Well, there's a study. I didn't ask for a study. A study what? That was done by who? That was done by your people? That was done, that's non-biased? I've asked, where is an independent, extensive audit of all of this data? None. There has not been one worldwide where there's been an extensive, in-depth, independent audit of all the data. That is a farce. And I way that when FDA ramrods, assuming that they probably will, which I agree, they probably will. They will probably ramrod the approval this fall. But we need to hold their feet to the fire. What, FDA takes 5, 10, 15 years to approve something in the past, and all of a sudden, magically now, they can go ahead and get this vaccine all of a sudden approved? Nope.